Well, hello and welcome to my fireside chat on the 12 ACS. In this particular segment, I'm going to be talking about the associated clinical sign one, the use of the word forced. Now, in the research from Greenham, Childress, and Pruder using Dorsey-Pruder's custody resolution method data, we examined the prevalence of the 12 ACS in 46 court-involved custody conflicts. So that's looking at the actual data that gets generated surrounding these families, emails, texts, reports, all the generated data regarding 46 families in court-involved custody conflict. And you can go to ResearchGate and read the article. And what we found was that in all 46 families, evidence the three diagnostic indicators of pathogenic parenting by an allied parent is described in Foundations. So 46 out of the 46 families had the three diagnostic indicators. And that's pretty impressive statement about what the pathology is in the family courts and the accuracy of Foundations in describing what the pathology is in the family courts. But we were not looking at the prevalence of the diagnostic indicators. We were taking a step further. We're looking at the 12 associated clinical signs. What's the prevalence of those in the family courts? And 46 of the 46 families, all the families had 5 or more of the associated clinical signs. Now, recognize they should have 0. And here we have all families having 5 or more. So they're excellent symptom indicators for the pathology. And then 45 of 46 families had 8 or more ACS. So really what we're looking at is 8, 9, 10, 11 associated clinical signs whenever we get the 3 diagnostic indicators are present. And within that, the use of the word forced, ACS1, was present in 85% of these 46 court-involved families. So it's a high prevalence symptom. And what it is, this symptom feature, is that the child or allied parent uses the word forced in any context for anything, just the use of the word forced. It is also a tell, it is also a symptom feature for mental health professionals, GALs, anybody who's got their countertransference locked up in the situation and they are bringing their own material to the situation. This is going to be a symptom feature. And because there's 2 aspects of it that make it a symptom feature. First, it's a manipulative use of language, and I'll describe that in a second. Highly manipulative. Once you see the manipulation in this, you'll recognize why it's a trigger. But it's also has its origins in the trauma pathology itself. So the pathology of concern is the transgenerational transmission of trauma, attachment trauma from the allied parent to the child. And the use of the word forced emerges from the internal working models or the patterns within the pathological parent from their own childhood attachment trauma that are being transferred to the current situation. And it's the transference or it's a trauma reenactment narrative schemas. So what it was is the pathological parent is saying, we shouldn't force the child to go be with the other parent, or, what can I do? I can't force the child to take a phone call, or, any use of the word forced around this situation, and implies that the other parent is an abusive parent, that we having to force this child into a relationship with the, well, that's obviously their abusive parent, when they're not. They're a normal range parent. And what is happening is it was the allied parent, the pathological parent as a child, who was forced to be with a problematic parent, to be with an abusive range parent. And so they have that pattern within them about forcing a child to be with an abusive parent. And they are imposing this perception of their own biases onto a normal range situation. And so they're seeing this as forcing a child to be with a parent when that's not the case. What's actually the case is that we're giving the child an opportunity to be loved by a parent. Oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. We're giving the child a chance to be loved. And you're saying we're forcing the child to be loved? What a horrible thing. We're forcing the child to be loved. That's a great thing. That's not a bad thing. And so they're twisting based on their own perception. And so that's the add-in from the trauma background. In terms of it being manipulative, it is just extraordinarily manipulative. Um, and it's used to disempower uh, efforts to resolve the child's symptoms by therapy, by the treatment providers, by anybody, by saying we shouldn't force. Well, then we can't do anything. We can't engage in treatment. We can't get the child back in. We can't do anything without requiring something from the child, requiring contact. We're not forcing the child either. We're, and that's the reframe at the bottom there. The child is being given the opportunity to have a bonded relationship with both parents. The child is having the opportunity to get loved. I got a parent who wants to love the child and tug on them and kiss on them and stuff. That's not a problem. They're not forcing the child to be loved. That's not a bad thing. But you notice that the moment they say we shouldn't force, that imposes this power dynamic on things that we're now saddled on seeming like, yes, we're going to force the child because we're powerful and dominating it. Well, no, no, we're giving the kid a chance to be loved. But it's manipulating us to be in this power domination or try to make that assertion. And so everybody backs off. Oh, we don't want to force the child to do anything. So this is a common indicator. And when you get mental health people or GALs or any of the collateral people who come with their own transference issue, their own internal working models about being forced to be with a bad parent, they're going to impose that uh, perception, that theme onto the normal range situation as well. So any use of the word forced is an indication of concern. It's not diagnostic, but up comes a little signal. ACS1. The child shouldn't be forced to have a relationship with the other parent, which provides an implication of abuse. So it's a very subtle thing that they're already making the allegation of abuse using the term. What can I do? I can't force the child to go on visitations with the parent. I can't force them to get in the car. I can't force them to do things. And that's a parental abdication of responsibility. I can't force the child. No way, we can't force the child. And this one goes with ACS2 of empowering the child. I'll explain that when I get over there. So follow me over to ACS2 and we'll talk about how the 1 and 2 work together in the pathology. And if you see one, you'll typically see the other as well. So follow me over and we'll talk about the next one.